30 years of pretending to be fine create a specific kind of silence. It's not empty. It pulses. It has a smell, a texture, and sometimes even a name no one dares to say out loud. It starts with little inner deaths you learn to hide. The day you wanted to scream but smiled. The day you wanted to vanish but stayed. The day you wanted to be seen and disappeared into yourself. No one told me that being too strong turns you into a wall, and walls don't cry, don't scream, don't ask for help. They hold everything together until they quietly crack. At 9, I learned how to calibrate my face not to disturb. Joy had to be moderated. Sadness had to be erased. And in that emotional battlefield disguised as a dining room, the actor inside me was born. Always ready, always clean, always fine. 30 years like this leave scars no scan will ever find. They settle into your ribs, your shoulders, the words you never spoke. The pain was organized with such precision it became part of my life's decor. No one taught me how to come back, only how to survive. And surviving, I found, means pretending so well that one day you believe it. But your body doesn't. Your body remembers everything. And now, it's starting to speak. Being too functional is a disguised form of abandonment. The more I kept it together, the less people asked if I was okay. I became the person who fixes, who organizes, who anticipates everyone's crises, so no one would notice mine. And the better I played that role, the more invisible I became. They admired my strength but never saw my exhaustion. And when you're strong for too long, people confuse resilience with indestructibility. But even the oldest walls collapse, and they make a lot of noise inside before they crumble outside. I was the balanced sibling, the reliable friend, the perfect employee, the understanding partner. Understanding became a curse, because constantly understanding others is the most efficient way to forget yourself. Every "I'm fine" I said, without meaning it turned into a stone in my gut. Every time I didn't cry just to not inconvenience anyone created a slow drowning only I could feel. And still, I kept functioning. Being needed became my addiction, because if I wasn't useful, who was I? Usefulness replaced identity. And now, after 3 decades, I realize always being fine wasn't strength. It was despair disguised as routine. My body never believed my performance. It always knew something was wrong. It started with insomnia I called just worry. Then came migraines, strange forgetfulness, the constant feeling that something awful was about to happen, even when everything seemed calm. But I kept smiling, kept saying, "It's just stress." Until one day my body stopped asking and started demanding. Pains with no origin, clean test results, vague diagnoses. I began to feel a fatigue that sleep couldn't fix. A tightness in my chest with no tears, only silence, as if my flesh was trying to remember what my mind had fought to forget. That's when I understood. Trauma that finds no voice finds muscle. Every part of my body began speaking the language of discomfort, because pain repressed doesn't evaporate. It accumulates, and one day, it spills. Waking up in a state of alert became routine. Nights stopped being rest and became invisible battles. And deep down I knew, it wasn't physical. It was psychic, emotional. A wounded child screaming inside a functional adult. It was my body saying, "You're not okay, and I won't pretend with you anymore." I still dream of the house I grew up in, but in the dream it's always empty. Open windows, still curtains, muffled sounds of something unfinished. I realized too late that my childhood wasn't a time. It was a territory. An internal space where parts of me got stuck. The boy who learned not to be a burden never left. He still walks barefoot through corridors of memory, waiting for a hug that never came, an apology that never arrived, a permission to feel that was never given. It all started there. The fear of bothering, the urge to please, the talent for anticipating what others wanted before I even knew what I needed. It wasn't care, it was emotional surveillance. Every step calculated, every word filtered, every tear swallowed not to be called dramatic. I grew up adapting to absence, decoding silence like trying to finish a puzzle with missing pieces. And I stayed there, even grown, even far, even with bills and deadlines. Part of me never left that room where I learned to stay quiet. The house collapsed years ago, but inside me it remains intact, untouched, preserved like a shrine of all that was left unsaid. Because childhood marked by neglect doesn't become past, it becomes captivity. And I am the adult who still visits the cell of the boy I was, not knowing how to unlock the door. Some days I can't look at myself in the mirror. It's not vanity, it's dissociation. It's as if the reflection accuses me of betrayal. It looks back as if to say, "You know you're pretending." Because the mirror doesn't buy performance. It sees what's left when the mask falls. And what's left in me is decades of exhaustion, eyes that cried far too much, skin that learned to wear control like armor. I don't recognize myself. Or maybe I never did. Maybe this face is just the result of years trying to fit where there was no room. My smile is symmetrical in a way that scares me. It works too well. It knows how to activate on cue, even when everything inside me wants to shut down. And now, when I look in the mirror, I see a tired actor. Someone who rehearsed the role of being okay so long he forgot what it means to just be. The face staring back isn't ugly or beautiful. It's absent. A mask that fused with flesh. I avoid mirrors because they have no mercy. They don't ask, don't soften, they just show. And what they show is that I disappeared trying to be acceptable, dimmed myself to be loved, dimmed so much. Now I'm only outline. Asking for help always felt dangerous, like admitting weakness and or worse, becoming a burden. I grew up hearing that problems are solved in silence, that crying is for the weak, that pain should be hidden, not shared. So I learned to swallow words, swallow tears, swallow requests that died before reaching my throat. And so my voice was unlearned. It became an internal echo, a muffled presence, a dissonant note that never found melody. Even in my worst moments, I kept my composure. No one knew when I was on the edge, and I was proud of that. My ability to endure. Until I realized enduring too much is a graceful way to self-destruct slowly, and that asking for help isn't surrender, it's resistance. But I didn't know how. The words stuck. Just saying, "I'm not okay," felt like failure. It felt invasive, shameful, unnecessary, as if my pain didn't deserve space. Sometimes I tried, but the moment someone hesitated or changed the subject, I retreated again. The pain returned to its source, me, and there it stayed. Nameless, shapeless, but alive. Today I understand silence isn't lack of sound, it's too much wound. A scream no one taught me how to pronounce. I never entered love unarmed. I always carried the invisible suitcase of vigilance. The same one I had as a child, when I had to read adult moods to avoid explosions. In love, I did the same. Observed too much, anticipated too much, silenced too much. Not out of fear of the other, but fear of losing what little I believed I deserved. Love for me was a silent negotiation. I'll shrink, I'll adapt, I'll disappear, and maybe you'll stay. It took years to realize I wasn't relating. I was avoiding abandonment. Every word filtered before spoken, every emotion measured, every need camouflaged. Not out of politeness, but trauma. Because showing too much, I learned, was a risk. And the biggest risk was being deemed too hard to love. So I got small, light, adaptable, almost imperceptible. I loved like someone apologizing for existing, but love born of fear isn't love, it's alert. And constant alertness is exhausting. You begin to fear even good gestures, distrust silences, interpret affection as prelude to disappearance. Because somewhere deep inside, the body learned that affection is always followed by absence. And even if the other doesn't leave, your system is already bracing for the fall. And so, even love becomes a trigger. Not because of who loves, but because of what remains unhealed in the one being loved. There was a day I decided to leave. Not physically, but symbolically. I took the pictures off the wall, deleted old messages, went quiet for days, stopped replying, stopped engaging, stopped insisting. It was a test, a ritual of disappearance. I wanted to know if anyone would notice my slow fading, if anyone would feel my absence as I erased myself gesture by gesture, not for attention, but out of exhaustion, a kind of emotional suicide, where the body stays, but the soul exits. No one noticed. Or maybe they did and chose not to look. Maybe they thought it was just another mood, another fatigue, another acceptable silence. But to me, it was the end of something. The end of hope that someone would see me without needing me to scream. That day I realized, the worst kind of loneliness isn't being alone. It's being surrounded, and still feeling that if you vanished, nothing would change. No chair left empty, no routine disrupted, no glance searching. I came back, on the outside, replied to messages, attended meetings, delivered tasks, but something in me stayed in that dark room, where I said goodbye without words. Since then, I carry an internal absence no one notices, and I smile, because I learned to go on, even after leaving myself long ago. Today I'm not healed, but I'm aware, and maybe that's more radical than it sounds, because for 30 years, I survived without naming the pain. Now, I face it. No mask, no defense, no excuse. Just me. And the truth that hurts. I was pretending to be fine because I thought that's what was expected of me, because I believed my worth depended on my usefulness, my lightness, my ability not to disrupt. But now I see, true love doesn't require you to be invisible. I still carry scars no one sees. I'm still afraid to ask. I still wake up in alert. But between total pretending and imperfect presence, I choose to stay. Stay, even with the parts I don't know how to fix. Stay, even not knowing how to start over. Stay, because leaving myself again would be dying again. And this time, I want to live. Not as someone performing, but as someone taking space, as someone with a voice, as someone who should have been heard from the beginning. This isn't healing. This is courage. The courage to stop pretending. Comment: I'm tired of disappearing too.